I have bins full of what I call my archive vehicles. They're vehicles that I'm using for to photograph for the book, and I try to keep them as pristine as possible. Doesn't always work. Sometimes, even the best of care, I seem to end up breaking some or bending some antenna or whatever. But anyway, for the most part, they've lasted pretty well. What we tried to do was open up all of the bins, and I wanted my initial goal was to get all of the figures from the 80s, the 90s, and the aughts in this kitchen, but we didn't have enough room. But then we're going to do just the 80s and 90s, and didn't have enough room for that either. And so we went from the all of the 80s and then up to 92. So I'm just going to show some of those vehicles here. We'll start. What we did essentially, we tried to keep the years as close together as possible. Over here you have 82, and as with the Vamp actually was available in 82 and in 83. I only put one of them there because the only difference with that Vamp was whether or not it came with a straight arm figure or the clutch or a swivel arm clutch. The other two Vamps next to it were actually released quite a bit later. They were mail-in Vamps, or they might have come with the Vamp HAL 2-pack. And they have a different mold. They have a shovel on the hood, and they have there's two of them different. They have two different dashboards. But so that's why one of the things you'll notice as you go through here, what I did was when there was a mail away, I just, for the purpose of this setup, I put the mail away one with the original one that came out. The Sky Strikers are from 83. There are two different ones. They remolded it. They fixed the mold up and to produce some more, and they went ahead and put the grill on it. And then you have the two Dragonflies. The difference with the two Dragonflies, I'm not going to show all the differences because, oh, what happened to poor Wild Bill? The first one actually, was it the first one? I think, yes, the first one moved up and down, and then they remolded it, made it a little bit easier to produce, and just made it all in one piece where it doesn't move up and down. And then you have the Manta Rays where you have the light camo and you have the dark camo. 84s, we have the whales. There are actually 4 different whales with different body. Well, actually, there are 3 different body molds, but then one of the body molds came with 2 different doors, 2 different front landing doors for the launcher, actually launcher doors. And then this whale over here was released later. This is the mail away whale that it has a mold even more different than these. Just small differences, but still differences. Here you have the Vamps. There are these two, the original color Vamp that they have 2 dashboards with the steering wheel fits in differently, and then this is the later mail away. You got, of course, got the Stingers. You got the 2 Rattlers. The Rattlers have different decals. The first one had actually many of the decals were black, and then they redid them. They did them in a white. It's still a very light white compared to some of the international decals. It looks faded, but that really is the way it originally came. Here we have some vehicles from 85, the 2 battle platforms. Just there's a light version and a dark version. That's really the only for the U.S. ones. That's the only variation I'm aware of. Then you have the mold difference in the Moray Hydrofoil, and then you toss and cross the arm. It has a variation. Then if you come over here, you have more 85s. There's the Mauler, the Ostriker, the Armadillo, 2 Ferrets. You have the original darker one, and then the lighter, later mail away. You have the 2 blue snake armors. One with the first one had no white in the decal, and the second release had white in the decal. This is the Sears exclusive SMS. And then you have the different small sets, the normal version and the mail away version. For the most part, the mail away version was darker than the original version. And in 86, you have the 2 variation Ravens. The variation is in the lever underneath and how that works and how that's molded in. You have, the Terrordrome. You've got 2 Havocs. You have a Havoc with a sort of almost a neon orange and a more muted orange. And then there are 3 Firebats. There's the original Firebat, which is a nice bright burgundy. You have the mail-away Firebat that came with a figure that is generally a sort of an in-between color really, and and then the bright orange Firebat. Some people say it's bright red. It looks a little more orange to me, but bright orange or red. You have the two triple Ts, the original, which is the gray, and the later mail away, which is the white one. The dreadnought pieces. The main variations there have to do with the three motorcycles. The machine gun that attaches to them have different colorations. A case can be made for the fact there really are two variations for the flag. The gray of the superstructure it had two distinct variations. One is sort of a bluish gray, and the other is sort of a more whitish gray. And I have the other one, but there really wasn't enough room. I didn't bring it down. For 87, there's the MCC, and you got the two Crossfires, the 49, the 27. Persuader, the Mamba. You have the two Wolves. You have the regular version and then the mail-away version with the darker pieces that go with it. And you have Battle Force 2000. There may be some variations of the Battle Force 2000. I'm not aware of any. I should check into that. I actually don't remember researching that. Okay, and here we have the Defiance down there. The Defiance were from 1987. There are 4 variations to the Defiant that have to do with some minor mold changes on the actual shuttle, and as well as things like the cap that goes on the crank, and just a few other minor details. Over here, I think we have 88. Rolling Thunder, Tiger Force, the 2 different Phantoms. Again, it has to do with the lever underneath the variation. You have 2 different color Destro's Daughter. No, not Destro's Daughter. I just lost the name of that.
Despoiler.
Despoiler, thank you. The Despoiler, sort of a brownish color versus a gold color. There are other colors too, but I believe most of those are international variations. And then, well, you can see the rest that's there, the Bug, the Warthog, the RPV. If anybody knows of any variations that you don't see here, if you could let me know, I'd sure appreciate it. I'm trying to get them all. And then also in 88 were some of the Night Force vehicles. The Night Force vehicles were actually some of them were released in 88 and others in 89. And so here you have the Night Boomer, the Night Ray, the Night Striker. Okay, here we have some of we have the vehicles from 89. There are 2 more Tiger Force vehicles here that go with the other set, but those were at 88. These are 89. Then Python Patrol came out that year. Slaughter's Marauders. Some nice pieces. I love the Condor. I really like the Crusader and the Thunderclap. You've got the Hiss 2, the Avalanche. The Battlefield Robots, all 4 of them came out, 2 Cobra, 2 Joes. In 87, before we saw the Battle Force 2000, 89, another Battle Force 2000 vehicle came out. It doesn't work together with the set. Then we go to 1990. I believe here's 1990. You got the 2 Generals. You have the General with the there's actually some nice variations here. Not only is the decals different in color, but the actual mold is different. Over here you have, for instance, the plastic that's raised, and here you have the plastic completely flat, so the actual mold is different. Of course, you have the 2 different hammerheads, the light and the dark, the hammer, the mobile battle bunker, and there are actually some nice vehicles in the 90s. And then, of course, some of my favorites, the Sky Patrol. So in 91, that's when things really started changing. Not in 90. 90, I think, still kept the flavor of the 80s. In 91, they really started going to the extreme in their colorations and becoming much brighter, much more neon. I think for some of the vehicles it's very unfortunate. Some of them they work. The Brawler, I think, is actually that works for me. The Badger, even, these aren't real variations here. They 2 of them only came this way, and I think that we were just having some fun and made them all one color. There are prototype pictures of the Earthquake with a green bucket, and I was hoping that there was a variation with a green bucket. I have spent many years looking for one and haven't found one or found anyone who has even seen one or can show me pictures. But if anybody has one with a green bucket, again, please do let me know, because that I would love to find one of those. You have the Toxo Lab. The Toxo Lab, again, that works okay in these colors. I think that's pretty awesome. And I actually even like the Eco Striker. Some of these other vehicles, I think are a little too colorful for my taste. I do like the fantasy aspect of G.I. Joe besides the military aspect. And I think with some of the vehicles, I think they did a great job, for instance, with the Hurricane, with the Condor, and I think that they kept it sort of in a subtle sci-fi fantasy realm. Here it looks like they went to a more, I don't know, what do you call it, a Crayola version of G.I. Joe. And I think that's it then for the vehicles that we were able to take out for this session.